dawn came stealing up, all gold and blue, to interrupt our rendezvous. I still remember.
The London Square is one of our city's greatest assets. There are a staggering 600 of these green and pleasant places in our capital, but we don't always value them as much as we should. During the war, many had their railings ripped up and melted down to make munitions.
As the tap dancing feet of a stair,
And since then, many others have become overgrown and neglected.
a nightingale sang in Berkeley Square.
But it's not all bad news. Some Londoners are taking matters into their own hands. The local people who live around here, Arnold Circus in Shoreditch, are determined to honour this area's past and restore this wonderful little park to its former glory. I've met up with Nazim and Lila to learn a bit more. So here we are in the rather lovely Arnold Circus. Could you tell me the history of it?
Yeah, Arnold Circus is an extraordinary place. If you'd been here in the end of the 19th century, you would have found that you were in the middle of Dickensian slums, really typical old slums, unsanitary, overcrowded, crime-ridden, etc. And in around the 1880s, the London County Council decided that what they needed to do was actually pull it all down and build what is around Arnold Circus, which is the Boundary Estate. And it's a very visionary bit of social planning. And in order to actually complete this whole new world that they were offering the locals, they said, well, fine, we're going to have open space in the middle. And so instead of throwing away the rubble of the old slums, what they did was to actually shape it into this rather extraordinary hill, which is now called Arnold Circus. And on top of that, there was a large kind of plateau that you can see here. But then they went one step further and they said, okay, what we'll do is to put up a bandstand. And the bandstand became the focal point for the community.
In common with lots of London squares, the brass band was a regular Sunday feature. Sadly, times have changed and Tower Hamlets Council have now more pressing priorities. As a result, the circus is overgrown and underused.
One girl who works in my shop, who lives on the estate, and she's 17, and she'd never been up on the bandstand. She's lived on the estate all her life.
What we want to do is to induce people to come up here again, because there's a great deal of kind of fear and mythology that's grown up around the place.
We had a picnic here this summer in July, a picnic for the local community that was great fun.
And Layla, why do you feel it's so important to revive this?
It's a real treasure, it's architecturally, it's so pretty and it's such a pleasant place to be.
The constituency for the circus, if you can call it that, has really changed so much since the days when it was in its heyday. Then it was very, very much white, working class, and although that is still a very strong element in the area, there's now a very strong Bengali population, and to have a place that actually could be a meeting place for different communities seems to be incredibly important particularly at this point in time.
The diverse community that surrounds Arnold Circus can be seen all over the East End, an area which has always attracted new immigrants. For most Londoners, Brick Lane is synonymous with a good old curry. But what I suspect a lot of Vindaloo connoisseurs don't know is this street was once the heart of the Jewish community in London. Between the wars, there were over 120,000 Jewish people living in the East End, between Stepney, Mile End and Whitechapel. Most had arrived in the latter part of the 19th century, immigrants from Russia and Eastern Europe. Yiddish theatre actress Anna Selnicka is now one of the few Jewish people left in the area.
No, we weren't.
So Anna, what were your early memories of the Jewish East End?
It was Jewish. It was definitely Jewish. There was a synagogue in every second street in the East End. Some streets even had two synagogues. All the shops were Jewish, the delicatessen shops, and there were many restaurants, Jewish, kosher. All the stall holders were Jewish. It used to be a 100% Jewish market, and the street is called Hessel Street. And although the people who came to buy here were Jewish, they used to buy their live fowl over there and go around the corner at the bottom and then have it slaughtered. The shochet was there to do it for.
Anna's father, Meir Selnicker, a famous Jewish actor, brought his young family to the area in the 1920s to be close to the nearby Yiddish theatres. So Anna, you started in the theatre when you were very young?
Very young. As a matter of fact, I have a photograph of myself here when I was 7 years old, and this is what I looked like.
I say, how marvellous. A bowler hat and a cigar by the looks of
A bowler
this.
hat and a cigarette, yes. So there you go, 7 years old I was here.
Yeah.
Well, my father was in the Yiddish theatre, which is across the road here, the Grand Palais, and he looked across and he saw this street and what was going on in this street and the smells that came out of this street. He had to write a poem about it. Would you like to hear it?
Love
It's
to.
in Yiddish. It goes like this. Hessel Street, mein Teier Hessel Street, dich vergessen will ich kein Wohl nicht. Bei dir ist doch die ganze Menschheit gleich. Die behandelst mit Chesed, sei Urem, sei reich. Deine Heißness sind wahren
So what happened to the market in the end?
People moved away. All the Jews moved away from here. Gradually. Things happened gradually. It didn't happen just overnight.
As they made more money, they moved to more affluent areas.
Exactly. And they moved to better places and better homes, and that's how it all happened until there was no one left. Different people have arrived. People who were never here before arrived here and settled here in this district. And the Jews left and they took over. And
isn't
that's
it-
how it is.
And isn't it ironic that the chicken shop is still a chicken shop, but now it's a
It
Muslim?
is amazing. It is amazing, but that was the chicken shop. And now I look and our Asian friends live here. They have made their home here. But as you just said, the chicken shop is still there. People want chickens.
Before the Second World War, there were over 150 synagogues in the East End. Now there's just 4 left. And this is one of the oldest, Sandys Row Synagogue. And I'm here to meet the husband and wife team who helped to keep it going. This building wasn't always a synagogue. It started life as a church, built by the French Huguenots who settled in this part of London in the late 1700s. When the Jewish community began to move into the area, it was converted to become the centre of their religious life. In its heyday, hundreds of people congregated here, but now there are only a handful of regular worshippers left, including Jimmy and Stella Wilder. And what is it you love about this synagogue?
It's very warm and cosy. You can come here any day and feel comfortable. We've been coming here for 40 years now. I come here, I clean the silver, we change the curtains, do the lights, do everything to keep it going. Everybody that comes here comes through the door and says, "Oh, isn't it beautiful?" All the people that have been members have left little mementos in memory of their loved family. It could be any occasion, it could be a marriage, it could be a bar mitzvah, it could be anything, a death. And so they put these plaques up, and they're all on the places where the people used to sit. So when their families come to visit the shul, they can see that belonged to my grandpa or grandma, and they're very happy about that.
And presumably that in its heyday, this synagogue would have been thronging with people.
Definitely, but unfortunately, it's an old congregation.
We had quite a lot of membership, over 300 families, but now they're getting old and dwindling, like we are actually. And so there comes a time when you've got to give it up, you can't keep on.
And ultimately, what do you think the future holds for this synagogue?
I would think that in 5 years' time we would be closing. What would become of it, I haven't got any idea.
I hope it's not in my lifetime.
Next time on Disappearing London, homes and gardens. From the small and perfectly formed to the very, very large. And I'm taking to the ice at a rink whose days are numbered.